TestLeft versus Selenium demonstration. So what I propose we do is let's look at a Selenium script first. Okay, and then we'll look at the TestLeft equivalent.
Great.
Okay. And what you see on my screen here, this is Visual Codes. This is the free editor that we can get with Visual Studio Code. And in here, I just have a Selenium script. And this Selenium script, it just allows me to hit a website, which is this website right here, and perform login actions. Okay. Now, the website that we are using, I'm just going to give people a visual, just to give them an idea, is this one right here. So this Selenium script essentially will visit this website and it will input the username, password here and log us into this website. So just for an example, so the username here is tester and the password is test, for example, and I log in. So as we can see, this is just replicating that. So the username here of tester and the password of test, and then we're just clicking the login button. Now, we do have a lot of edited out code here. So for example, we're finding the elements here by the element ID or by its name. But here we can also see we could actually be finding elements by the XPath as well. Okay, what does that look like? So I'm just using Firefox here. But if I was to right click on anything here, so I have Selenium set up here with this browser, you know, I can look for objects by their XPath and it will give me objects. I can look for it in Python here or C#, or I can even just jump right into the Selenium builder. So that's really, guys, how I've built out this script. But as you can see, for example, if I wanted to use XPaths here, which we're not going to use in this example, I would have to individually go into each of these elements here, right click individually, and I'd have to actually pull out each individual XPath. And that can be quite time consuming, depending on how complicated or how big your test case needs to be. You know, for example, if you have an orders form, you know, what's on a typical orders form? You have the name, you have addresses, you probably have between 15 to 20 input boxes, I would say. So that's 15 to 20 clicks you have to do, 15 to 20 XPaths you have to manually extract, put in and configure accordingly.
Time consuming.
So that can be, exactly, that can be quite time consuming. So for those people that are using Selenium, they'll definitely relate to this. They'll understand exactly what we're talking about. So how do we shorten this up? Well, here at SmartBear, we came up with a great idea of let's automate all of this using a tool called TestLeft. First question we always ask, can it be automated? So when we talk about TestLeft, what is TestLeft, Dermot? So in a nutshell, what's TestLeft?
Well, TestLeft is an interface to the object recognition engine that we also use in TestComplete. And it allows you to use this object recognition engine within the IDE of your choice. So that could be Visual Studio, or it could be Eclipse, or it could be IntelliJ. And what it allows you to do is to interact with the application that you're intending to test, and very quickly and very simply import identifiers for the object model of your application into your IDE's tests.
So it really builds the code for you.
Pretty much, yes. I mean, it's all presented there. There's no expansive search. There's no expansive discovery of different aspects of your DOM. It's all there. You don't have to go clicking quite so much the same way that you would have if you were having to do this manually.
Exactly. Let's look at an example of that right now. So typically, when we use TestLeft, what we can actually do is we can build up an object model very, very quickly. So guys, if we can just come back here to this orders website, for example, right? And you know, for example, here's an example of a form where there'll be several, we have to do several clicks, several XPaths. This can take time. What happens if I want to automatically generate all this with TestLeft? How would I do it? Okay. So TestLeft it's an individual tool we offer here at SmartBear. It's installed and licensed individually, and it can be accessed directly through an IDE as it plugs in, and we'll see in a moment. But it can also be accessed through your desktop with the TestLeft UI Spy. And when we open it up, this is really all it is. It's a very simple interface. Nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be overwhelmed by. It's very, very simple. And what we want to do here is we want to take the object recognition engine of TestComplete. This is kind of, you ever watch Top Gear and they say the new Lamborghini that has taken the old Lamborghini engine and just made it better? It's kind of like this.
Okay.
Kind of like this. So what we're doing here is we've taken the object spy, and all I'm doing here, Dermot, is I'm just moving around the screen. And you can see with the red highlighter here, it's picking up all the individual objects, okay? So it's doing it for me, okay? If I was to drop it here, what's it going to do? It's going to give me 3 boxes. It's going to give me a screenshot just for my own sanity to know I'm looking at what I dropped it on. I know I'm looking at the right thing. It's going to give me all of the methods and properties of it. And over here, it's going to show me where it's actually finding it. So it gives me the entire object tree of where it's actually located, and it's located right here. And what I can do then is I can come in here to my cog and I can specify, do I want this to be outputted in any of these languages? I can specify, you know, the type of, do I want it to be like a driver method to interact with this object, or do I want to interact with the process that created it, or do I want to interact with the main page itself? So I'm just going, let's just leave it at C#. And then I can just simply come up here and I can go copy identification. And if I come down here now and I paste this in, voila. This is all the identification code you will need to interact with that object.
Excellent.
Okay, so TestLeft has done this all for me. So for example, it's set up exactly, you know, how I'm going to interact with it via this browser. You know, it's going to reference the website. It's going to give me all of the identifiers it can use. And this is also editable. I can come in here, and if I know there's additional identifiers, I can come in here and I can just go another identifier. The really cool thing about it is people are probably thinking now, Dermot, well, I'm going to have to do this for every single object now. So why is it that different to Selenium? What happens if we had a situation where we could actually do this all in one go? We could take every object on the page and do it all together. So if I come up here, scroll up to the overall web page here, you'll see by clicking on that, it now gives me the option to copy the model. So I'm going to click on copy model here, come back into Notepad and paste in it. And now look, it's giving me the model of every single object which exists on that page very, very quickly. So we can take them individually, or we can hit it at a page level, and we can get all of the objects for the page. In 2 clicks of mouse, we've generated an entire object model for this web page. A neat trick is if I had all of the web pages of this application opened up, I can copy every single web page all at one time as well if I so wish. Okay. So if I opened up, for example, the login page alongside this and I perform this action, it would take this orders page and it would also take the login page. So we can very, very quickly build up our model with TestLeft.
So you can just automatically generate like a domain-specific language for your application.
Exactly. It's really, you can really do whatever you so wish with it. And just very briefly, you know, I have in my Visual Studio here, I have one of these fleshed out. So again, this is a TestLeft script. You will see that, you know, it is in some ways quite similar to Selenium. Now, this is done with a BBD framework, which is SpecFlow and Gherkin. And we're not going to touch on that today, not in depth. But, you know, so for example, we can come in here and, you know, we can see here's the model. Now, this model has been cleaned up by one of our developers. So we can see this is the entire object model. This is the same website. This is the entire object model. So if we come up here, for example, here is the, you know, for the username and password on the home page. If we scroll down just to show people the entire model actually is here. Let's scroll down. Here is where you would put in your zip code on the orders page, 3 pages deep. So it's all here. And we can just, for example, if I go back here to my test here, all we're doing up here is we are just importing it in. So here's the orders model, and we're just importing it in, and we can just reference back and over. Okay.
So you've very quickly, with just a few clicks of your mouse, created an entire toolchain for interacting with your application.
Exactly. Absolutely. And, you know, this helps with your scalability and extendability as well. If you make an update, just go back into TestLeft, point at your object spy at the new the new element or object, and just map it straight into your model. Very, very quick, very, very simple. Okay. And again, you know, we have support teams dedicated to this as well here. So this is a commercialized tool. You can download free trials of this from our website. And we do have a support team with it as well.